Report starts now.
Okay, we're going to try this again. We figured it out. It's a learning curve with us. Got to plug the mics in. So,
well, wait
I
a
learned.
minute.
I
It's
learned
more
today.
than plugging
So,
the mics in.
we're back. We have audio, and it's Ask Mike. And we got some really good answers, and I hope Mike repeats it. But we only got through 2 questions, and so that's okay. We can start over. All right, our first question comes from Hagapalooza, who wants to know, do you know of or have an opinion on what date, if things stay the way that they are, that college football will be canceled?
Yeah, I would assume that if the situation weren't any better sometime around August, then the feeling would be, we might as well. Now, I don't know that they would cancel altogether. There might be plans to push everything back, play only conference games. There's a lot of options they would have, but I don't expect any of that to happen, and here's why. President Trump on Saturday revealed in his press conference that he had had a conversation with all of the commissioners of the various professional sports and had told them there's going to be NFL football. That's the first thing coming up. There would be NFL football starting in August. That would sort of indicate they're going to have some preseason games. Mm-hmm. If they're going to do preseason games, I think that would clear it out in order for colleges to go ahead and start their pre-August camp. I still am a little bit hopeful they're going to have some sort of spring football, which would be held in the summer, but that may be out. Mm-hmm. But it certainly looks like now, for sure, unless something that we think is going to happen didn't happen, that I'm very hopeful we're going to have a college football season.
All right. Question number 2. Jumpany wants to know, what are your thoughts on that awful 2009 Arkansas-Florida football game? The refs gave Florida that game, and all they got was a slap on the wrist. Should the NCAA have come down harder on the refs?
Yeah, I don't think it's up to the NCAA. To me, it's up to the SEC. Now, here's what I keep saying about this. Mm-hmm. If you're the SEC and you promote that SEC, and it's the idea that it's the best college football conference in the country, which it is, and you're going to promote that image, then why would you not have the best referees? And they don't. And here's the problem. Who got mad over that? Arkansas fans. It was clearly a screw job. I mean, it was terrible. If they don't do if they didn't make the mistakes that they made, Arkansas wins that game. Okay, so you come back and you ask yourself, who's really mad about that? Florida fans aren't mad. They're saying, oh, it's stupid. We would have won anyway. Does South Carolina fans care? Kentucky fans? Alabama fans? No, none of them care because it didn't affect them. So there's no pressure all over the league. It just comes from one fan base. Now think about this. Every time a game like this happens, and it happens more than once every year, I sit and watch on this monitor not every SEC game, but as many as I can watch during the season. And I'm telling you, it happens over and over. You're sitting there and you're feeling sorry for a team because they're getting hosed. Mm-hmm. And you're saying to yourself, why does the league allow this? Because, again, you're only going to get anger from one fan base. This would take a unified thing on the part of a lot of fans saying, we demand better referees. You do something about it. We want this. And until that happens, this kind of stuff is going to continue.
All right, here we go. Said 76, a very dedicated listener of yours. Growing up, I remember the basketball team coming to play at the Pine Bluff Convention Center and the Barton Coliseum in Little Rock every year. Could you explain when and why that stopped?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, Barton opened in '53, and I still remember a few games in there. It's still open. They're still using it for things. But it held about 7,000, 7,200, something like that. And it was old and needed to be renovated. And so they started playing some of those Central Arkansas basketball games, Razorback games that we would play in Central Arkansas. They moved them over to the Pine Bluff Convention Center. Now, it wasn't a true basketball arena, but it did hold about 8,500. So it held more people, and it was more modern and newer. That thing opened up in '75 as opposed to '52. The ironic thing is now it's got all kinds of problems. The floor is sinking. Apparently the walls were built at some point. Then the foundation was built, and then the walls were built later. So they got a sinking problem, and it's in need of major repairs. But basically what happened was when Alltel opened up, and it was called Alltel, I think, originally, the basketball arena in North Little Rock was 99. It held 15,000. And it's simply a matter of how many people you can put in there, plus it's more Central Arkansas than Pine Bluff. and more, it was a true basketball facility with the parking you have to have, and so that was the end of the Pine Bluff Convention Center as far as Razorback games are concerned. Now, let me just elaborate on this a little bit. I still believe they should continue to do this in basketball and football because they've got good facilities in Central Arkansas for the Razorbacks to play. Here's the problem with football. As much as I want to see those football games continue, they don't have the same sort of facility comparable to what you have in Fayetteville. And there's no belief at this time that they can continue to add and renovate and improve War Memorial to make it acceptable. They just don't have the money for it. I believe we've seen the end of games in Little Rock. In football games. I don't know when it will go away, whether it's 2 years from now or whatever they do, but I think it's over, and I think it's a thing where you just can't afford to do it, but they will continue to play basketball and baseball games down there because they got 2 good facilities to play in.
All right, there we go. Parallax Pig asks, if there is no fall college football this year, how will non-Power 5 schools continue their athletic programs without TV money generated from these games? Big concern.
Well,
we've talked about
what they would do if that happened, because we've talked about, they would lose the revenue from playing Power 5 schools, which is a huge chunk of what they make. So what would happen, in my opinion, and this is speculating, if you lost the ability to play those games for 1 year, you would have a huge budget shortfall, and at least on the short term, I think you would see a lot of these spring sports, which run deficits, they might just do away with them for a year or two till you get your money built back up. That's what would happen if you didn't have football. But I've already said, I think we will have it. So for me to talk about that, in my opinion, would be a scare tactic. I don't think it's going to happen.
All right. Rob4516 says, can you talk about Philippe Frank's strengths and weaknesses? How do you feel the passing game will fare this fall?
Okay. If you just go back and read some of the complaints, because fans always complain about their quarterback, some of the complaints about Frank's, he's got a tremendous arm, but he was under pressure. He sometimes tried risky things and made mistakes. Gee, where have we seen that? You know, we saw Arkansas quarterbacks do that for the last 2 or 3 years. In fact, I was watching a replay of, I think it was a UCLA game from 3 or 4 years ago when they had that big comeback and they started off with Nick Starkel. Texas A&M started off with Starkel, and Starkel looked great for a while in that game. He certainly looked much better than he ever looked here. But again, he ran into some of the same problems that people have complained about with Franks. All quarterbacks at times are going to make mistakes under pressure. So those are the big complaint. Some people have said he throws more of a bullet pass, and sometimes because he doesn't put any air under the ball, he overthrows people, stuff like that. He's a good runner, and you know, he's 6'5", 6'6". I mean, when he falls forward, he can get you a first down just falling forward. So, you know, I think he's going to have much better coaching than Nick Starkel ever had, or Ben Hicks, and I think he's going to do well here. Now, the other thing we've heard about him from Mike Woods, who did a teleconference last week, he said, man, the guy looks really good. He's got good leadership qualities. We all like him. We like what he's contributing. Whoever he's working out, I guess he's worked out some with Mike Woods, and he just talked about the great arm that he's got, the running ability. But we'll have to wait and see what he does in the fall.
Absolutely. All right. Peak Hog says, the wait is finally over and Eddie is in the Hall of Fame. What was your favorite memory of covering Coach Sun?
It wasn't a game, and I wish I could remember the year, but it was sometime in the early 80s. Arkansas was supposed to be good like they typically were, and they went down to Rice and lost a game. And they shouldn't have lost it, and everybody was mad. And he knew that the fans were mad. Went over to Barnhill that day because they were going to practice in the afternoon like they always did. And it was a typical practice. I was just going to shoot some practice and interview Sutton when practice was over, and that's what my job was that day. He comes up to me before practice ever starts, as soon as he sees me in the arena, and he says, do you have one of those wireless microphones with you? I said, yeah, I do. And he said, could you put it on me? I said, okay. And he said, look, everybody wants to know why we lost. We lost because our defense was bad. And he said, I'm going to teach these guys how to play defense. They know, but I'm going to reteach them, and you'll be able to show fans what we did wrong in that game. And so I put the wireless mic on him, and for about 45 minutes, he just tore into these guys, showed them every mistake they'd been making. But it was a clinic on the in-your-face man defense that Eddie Sutton always taught and what he believed in. And what I liked about that was the fact that he used the media, in that case me, to show fans this is what went wrong and this is what I'm doing to correct it. And we don't have enough coaches these days that get that concept. You work for those fans, whether you believe it or not. You don't have a job without them. And yes, when you lose a game you're not supposed to lose, you need to explain it to them. That was a great way of explaining it.
I love it. And congratulations, of course, to Eddie Sutton. All right, Sugar Hill, Georgia Hog says, this social distancing is tough on me. I feel ya. I'm the type of guy that poke you in your arm, goose you on the ribs, give you a random hug, or if there is a footstool around, maybe hang an arm around your shoulder. So now I'm reduced to throwing a rock at you or tossing a green sweet gumball, I guess.
I have those gumballs in my yard.
I'm doubting it will ever get back to a stranger being near you. Do you agree?
I don't know. You and I have talked about that. We don't know how this will change people's behavior. Maybe when it's over, everybody kind of goes back to what they were.
Yeah.
Maybe a year from now, when you go in a store, you're kind of looking at somebody like, "Ooh, do you have the flu?" It might not be coronavirus. It could be something else. Yeah. I don't want to get the flu from you. I think we've all become more aware of how that stuff gets transmitted. So at least in the short term, I think people are going to be a little more careful, a little less likely to come up and shake hands and do all this stuff. But whether it's permanent or not, who knows?
By the way, do you have a mask?
I do.
Yeah. I have a mask. I have my mask. What do you think? Like I made me a mask.
I've got one that I just have in my garage because I cut wood and stuff.
There you go.
Stuff.
I'm just looking out for you, old man.
Yeah.
Okay. Dirt Track Hog says, Mike Leach upset some players and fans with a tweet that jokes about quarantine with a lady making a scarf, except the scarf is a noose. Yikes. He forgot where he was and what year it is.
Yeah, yikes. What a dumb reaction to that. Although I can't complain about him because a Mississippi State player allegedly transferred over that. Let me explain for those that don't know what happened. He put up a tweet that where you see a husband at home with his wife because of this, everyone's staying at home. And she looks like she's knitting something in the background, and you think maybe she's making him a mask. But then he shows that she's actually making a noose. And the joke is that we've got all these people that are wives that are so mad that their husbands are home all day long with them that they want to hang them. That's a joke. Look, some people have said, and with all this going on, we don't need anybody joking about it. Yes, you do. It's depressing enough. We all understand the seriousness of this. But in serious times, everybody kind of needs a little break from all that. And so that's all that was. And as far as some other people saying it was racial, there was nobody black in this. There was no inference of a black person getting hung. It wasn't a reference to any Jim Crow era things or any of that. I watch cowboys movies all the time where guys get hung, Gunsmoke. They're always taking somebody up to Hays City and hanging them. Well, I don't stop and think, that's racist because the guy getting hung is a white guy and he's being hung by other white guys. The Jim Crow era is over. Not every reference to a noose or that has anything to do with that. So again, I'm sure some Arkansas fans are going to say that it was horrible because they don't like Mike Leach anyway because he's an opposing coach, and that's fine. But I don't think Mississippi State fans are upset about it. There was a player that transferred. As a result of that, stuff I've read indicated he was probably already going to go anyway and kind of use that as an excuse. I gotcha. All right.
Hog Wild tells us, Caesars has released SEC over-under win totals for 2020, and Arkansas is at a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I think they'll get 4, maybe 5, even outside possibility of 6.
Oh, okay.
I just like what I'm seeing so far now. What am I saying? That's probably the wrong term, seeing. I'm not seeing anything.
Seeing anything.
But what we're hearing from the players and the way they're doing things and the coaching staff over there, just the more you hear about the way they do things over there, the players are really buying into it. They like this staff. And I think he's gone out and got some grad transfers like Philippe Frank. I think they've got we're learning more about that defense now. And it's really going to have additional guys in the secondary. That tells me they want to stop the pass, but they still want to have hybrid D-backs that can come up and help in run support. And to me, that is designed to stop the gouge plays that we saw so much under John Chavis, those big long bombs or the big long running plays.
Yeah, the chunk plays.
So I like the sound of that defense.
All right, I like that. I'll take the over with you.
Yeah.
I can be
3.5 is low.
I can be pretty confident in that. All right, last one. Hog fan in Texas wants to know, the lack of sports has had to have some impact on ESPN. Will this trickle down to the conferences and how ESPN can make the payments to them? It will make it harder to get an increase when it comes time to renew our contract. We have, I'm assuming he means his cable contract. Right. We have come to depend on this and could have an impact on coaches' salaries in the future.
Yeah. Okay. The only thing that's been canceled so far with regard to ESPN and college sports is baseball, which I'm not saying that's not any money at all, but they haven't lost a football season. So I think if this thing gets back rolling in the fall, they're going to have their football money. And then that will keep this thing going. But there are some things going on out there. For instance, Iowa State, their AD somehow convinced their head coach and all their other coaches to take a 10% pay cut during this because of all of this. They've got like a $30 million athletic budget. That's like crazy low. I think at Arkansas it's more like 60, 70, 80. I don't know. It's way up. Most SEC schools, it's big like that. So you got a school with revenue problems anyway. And so as a result of that, they've convinced coaches, okay, you need to throttle back. Now, here's the problem. You got fans out there that see that, and then they just go nuts. I'm reading Hogville, and there are people on there that are saying, oh, all coaches are going to do this now. You're going to see the end of these big salaries. And not only that, people are going to stop going to college as much because of the student loan debt and this and that. And it's what I said before. It's the thing I complained about when who was the guy that 2 or 3 weeks ago said there'd be no college? Kirk Herbstreit.
Oh, Herbstreit, yeah.
Said there would be no college football season, in his opinion. This is what I don't like about this whole situation. You don't know.
Yeah.
You're standing and speculating on something and being negative about something that's 6 months down the road, a year down the road, 3 years down the road. And what I'm seeing is something that I never thought much about, but there's just a lot of people out there that just like to talk negative and say, oh yeah, schools aren't going to, we're not going to have a lot of people going to college anymore. We're not going to have, coaches aren't going to be making as much. Oh, this and this and that. And it's all speculation, and I don't know why they want to do it.
Yeah, well, I think things might change. I don't think it's going to be that drastic. And I also think it's important, too. I get that it seems like ESPN might not have any content to talk about, but just like us, they're generating content, too. Like, they're going to have the whole Michael Jordan and the Bulls thing that's coming out. Again, they're making money. They still have advertisers and commercials, and so it's not like ESPN is freaking out
What
either.
people don't understand is in times like this, TV viewership goes up.
Yeah.
It doesn't go down.
Yeah.
And ESPN's, they're not in financial trouble because of this.
Right.
They would be if they didn't have a college football season, but I think they will have one.
We don't have that yet. All right, that is another edition of Ask Mike. We appreciate you watching, and of course, if you have a question for Mike, hit him up on Hogville, the Ask Mike forum. Literally ask him anything. For the next couple days, you're going to be working from home. He's got to need some good questions to answer, right?
That's right.
All right. That's going to do it for us. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
For